and some of the nature of attitudes. Further, we discussed about the measurements of attitude. Basically, we covered three methods along with their advantages and disadvantages. And today, we'll start the topic that is sources of attitude. Sources of attitudes is being divided in 5 to 6 factors, and each factor is further subdivided. So let's start from individual factors. First one is personal values and beliefs. Attitude can stem from from an individual's deeply held values, beliefs, and moral principles. Or these can be influenced by the upbringing, education, culture, and religion and personal experiences. Second is personality trait. Certain personality traits, such as openness to experiences, conscientiousness, and agreeableness, can also shape attitude. For example, an individual high in openness may be more receptive to new ideas and experiences, leading to a liberal attitude. The third subdivided heading is cognitive process. Attitude can be formed through cognitive process such as reasoning, evaluation, or decision making. Individuals may develop attitude based on their rational analysis and intuitive judgments. Second factor is social factors and socialization. Attitudes are often acquired through socialization processes within families, peer groups, schools, and communities. Social norms, expectations, and role models play a significant role in shaping attitudes. Second is group membership. Attitudes can be influenced by the social groups to which individuals belong, including social, cultural, and political or religious groups. Group memberships provide a sense of identity and belonging, and leading to the adoption of group specific attitudes. Third is about social influence. Attitudes can be influenced by social interaction, conformity pressures, and persuasive communication from others, including family members, friends, leaders, and media. Third one is environmental factors. First of all, it is very get affected by physical environment. Environmental factors such as geographical location, climate, urban and rural divide, and built environment can influence attitude. For example, attitude towards environmental conservation may be shaped by exposure to natural landscape and pollution. Secondly, the environmental factor is being affected by economic conditions. Socioeconomic factors, including income, employment status, and also access to resources, can impact attitude towards economic policies, inequalities, and social welfare groups. Thirdly, attitudes can be influenced by political climate, government policies, political ideologies, and partial identities prevalent in societies. Political events, campaigns, and media coverage can shape public opinion and attitude towards specific issues. Then, psychological processes. First one is cognitive dissonance. Attitude may change to reduce cognitive dissonance, the discomfort arising from inconsistencies between attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors. Individuals may adjust their attitudes to align their actions or justify their behavior. Secondly, that is selective exposure and preferences. Individuals tend to seek information and experiences that reinforce their existing attitude while avoiding contradictory information. This selective exposure of perception can contribute to the reinforcement and polarization of attitudes over time. Lastly, the other main factor is historical and cultural context. Historical events and cultural traditions and collective memories can shape attitude over generations. Attitude towards war, social justice, and identity issues may be deeply rooted in historical experiences and cultural narratives. Secondly, cultural values. Attitudes are influenced by cultural values and norms and practices prevalent in the society. Cultural dimensions such as individualism, collectivism, power distance can influence attitude towards authority, social relationship, and societal norms. Understanding these diverse sources of attitude is essential for researchers and policymakers and practitioners seeking to analyze, predict, and influence attitude within populations. By considering individuals, social and environmental and cultural factors, one can get insights into the complexity and dynamics of attitude in various contexts. Continue to the new topic, which is personality. The word personality comes from the Latin word persona, which means to speak through. Consequently, a person's public persona defines their personality. There are more facets of person's personality beside their attractiveness, their smile, and attitude on life. It is a dynamic world that captures a way the person's whole personality, or we can say whole psychological system, grows and changes. The term personality has traditionally been used to characterize how people influence other people through their own action and public display. A person's behavior is influenced by their personality, which is fairly constant collection of characteristics. We can have a better understanding of personality by consulting these few definitions. According to Jordan Elport, personality is a dynamic organization within an individual of those psychological systems that determine a unique adjustment of his environment. Next is about behavior. Behavior is the outcome of complex interaction between the person and the situation. At a particular point of time, a person's behavior is strongly influenced by certain events in the environment engulfing them. And yet, people have the tendency to interpersonal processes bring out something of themselves to the situation. And it will be something which represents a unique quality exclusive to that individual. Generally, personality refers to a set of traits and behaviors that characterize an individual. It is relatively a stable pattern of behavior and explains a person's behavioral tendencies. The nature of personality, it has both internal and external elements, and an individual personality is relatively stable. An individual personality is both inherited as well as shaped by the environment. Or we can say each individual has a unique behavior. Thus, personality refers to the sum total of internal and external traits of an individual, which are relatively stable and that makes an individual differences from others. Now, we'll discuss the personality traits. Personality traits are enduring patterns of thoughts, feelings, and behavior that characterize an individual's distinctive way of interacting with the world. These traits influence the environment, respond to their environment, as well as how they relate to each other. We'll discuss them one by one. So, the first one is openness to experience. This trait reflects that extent to which an individual are open-minded, imaginative, curious, and willing to engage with new ideas, experiences, and perspectives. Second is conscientiousness. Conscientiousness encompasses traits such as organizational responsibility, dependability, and self discipline. Individual high in conscientiousness are typically reliable, goal oriented, and diligent in their pursuits. Third one is extroversion. Extroversion refers to the degree of sociability, assertiveness, and energy an individual plays in social situations. Extroverts tends to be outgoing, talkative, energetic, and while introverts are more reversed or prefer solitary activities. Fourth one is agreeableness. Agreeableness refers a person's tendency to be cooperative, compassionate, or we can say empathetic, and considerate the feelings of others. Individuals high in agreeableness are often warm, kind-hearted, and nurturing. The last one is neuroticism or emotional stability. Neuroticism pretends to extend of emotional stability and reliance versus emotional volatility and to stress. People high in neuroticism may experience more frequent and incentive negative emotions such as anxiety, depressions, and mood swings. Our next slide is about determinant of personality. It will be very difficult to answer the questions what are the factors which determine personality? Because there are many cognitive processes psychological processes, along with several other variables which contributes to personality. For the purpose of discussion, we will club all these into broad categories and we can say such as biological culture, family, socialism process, and other impacting situational factors. So here we will discuss these factors along with their explanations. So here the first factor is biological factor. These can be divided into three major characteristics. Heredity. It is the methodological transfer of traits from parents to offsprings. Heredity elements includes things like physical size, temperament, face beauty, and muscles compositions that are inherited genetically from one's parents. Second is about physical feature. No, it's a brain. The brain has a big influence on personality. The idea that a human brain influences personality is not supported by significant data that psychologists can present. In general, father and kids use the same kind of brain stimulation. The environment is what causes the difference. Genetic transmission results in a split brain psychology and electrical stimulation of brain. They aids in shaping the behavior of or employee. Employees' performance benchmarking or ESB used to inspire higher performance. Supervisors are taught to utilize SBP to encourage appropriate behavior of their staff. And the third one is physical feature. It has been demonstrated that the person's outlook generally influences their personality. For instance, a person's physical characteristics such as the height or weight or thinness, attractiveness or unattractive or race certainly have an impact on how they perceive by others. Consequently, it affects how people see themselves. One's physical characteristics can affect how he handles a situation or social situations, what other people think of him, and how other people react to him. These might then impact how a person's personality develops. The second is about family and social factors. An individual's immediate families is one of the most significant factors in determining their personality. There are following variables determining the types of influence, that is, socioeconomic level of family, family size, birth, order, race, religion, parents, educational level, and geographical locations. Next is about cultural factors and situational factors. Every culture molds a person's conduct to fit a society socially acceptable and validated standards. From one generation to the next, a complex system of shared values, beliefs, and environmental management techniques is passed down. A person's cultural group shapes their life experiences and occurrences. Fourth is situational factor. The environment has a powerful impact. It implies the pressures, restrain people's behavior might be influenced by a type of scenarios they find themselves in. Now, here comes the theories of personality. Personality theories. Where does personality come from? Some theorists would say that is an individual reactions to their environment. Other would lean on some hereditary characteristics, theories in which the mother, father, and relative going back to Adams are to blame. No matters what theories from Genesis and individuals describe to throw. The greater interest of psychologists is how to distinguish between personality. Without a doubt, every person has a distinct personality. They cannot be debated. The argument is how different personality can be distinguished. The scientists have come up with two basic means of codifying personality by traits and by types. Broad characteristics that are persistent, steady, and observable is known as personality traits. And personality types are group of traits that are thought always occur together. Type theory then is the belief that individual personality can be qualified into few new unique characteristics. This hypothesis has been around for a while and has a lot of adherents today. Now let's study about Big Five model. Big Five model gives five basic personality traits that are extroversion. Our degree of comfort in relationship is reflected in the extroversion component. Generally speaking, extroverts are outgoing, confident, and kind. Quiet and shy, even reserved are characteristics of introvert. Second is agreeableness. The willingness of a person to submit to other is referred to as the agreeableness dimension. Those that are very agreeable are helpful, friendly, and trustworthy. Individuals with poor agreeableness tends to be very uncooperative and hostile. The third one is conscientiousness. One indicator of dependability is the conscientiousness dimension. Someone who exhibits great conscientiousness is accountable and well prepared, trustworthy, and the people with the poor sources in this area are prone to be distracted, lack organization, and untrustworthy. Last one is emotional stability. The emotional stability factor, which is sometimes associated with neuroticism, taps into an individual's capability to tolerate stress. Positive emotional stability is often associated with calmness, security, and self assurance, while high negative sources are typically very tense, worried, and insecure. Openness to experience. A variety of interest and attraction with novelty are addressed by the openness to understanding dimension. People who are very accessible are imaginative and sensitive to the arts. People who are very on the opposite side of the spectrum, conventional people take solace in things they are familiar with. The physical environment shapes cultural development, which in turn shape personality. A relationship between personality and environment is evident, and the physical and mental characteristics of the people are largely determined by their geography and climates. Both desert and mountain people are often strong, hardy, and fearless. In our next slide, we'll discuss about personality factor in organization. Personality trait typically refers to the basic component of personality. The names are generally terms used by the people to describe one another. And there may be hundreds and thousands of such terms, and practically impossible to keep a track on these. Now, what happened is researchers had identified several general factors which can be used to describe an individual personality. These are depicted from Big Five model personality factors describing an individual's adjustment, sociability, conscientiousness, agreeableness, and intellectual process openness. Each personality includes a large number of range of specific personality traits, dimensions. Thus, each factor is said to contain both a collection of related traits as well as congeners. For example, an individual having a personality at one extreme will be sociable and energetic. On the other hand, extreme will be shy and withdrawn. It will be interesting to note the individual personality in the study of organizational behavior because it provides a linkage between personality and the behavior. Even though each personality factor represents a collection of related traits, the link between personality and specific behavior will become clear when we concentrate on a particular trait rather than on the five factors. We will briefly examine the specific personality traits which are particularly important for understanding the various aspects of organizational behavior. There are many different personality traits, but some of the important ones of organizational behavior are risk taking, self monitoring, type A and type B personality, self esteem, locus of control, goal orientation, introvert versus extrovert, dogmatism, and authoritarianism. So, first one is locus of control. Locus of control indicates the belief of an individual to the extent to which he or she can control events affecting them. There are two types of individuals having high internal locus of control. Believe that it is their own behavior and action which determine many of the events in their life. Whereas a person with high external locus of control believe that it is a chance or a fate or other determine what happens to them. Next one is introversion and extroversion. The term introversion, introvert and extrovert describe a person Cognitionality. These terms can be expanded to refer a personal personality dimensions also. Introversion refers to the tendency to direct everything inward, develop a great affinity of abstract ideas and sensitivity to personal feelings. Extroversion refers to a tendency to orient towards other people, events, and objects. If we carry forward, an introvert by nature is quite introspective and emotionally very unimpressive, whereas extrovert is one who is sociable, impulsive, and emotionally very expressive. People displaying characteristics of both introversion and extroversion are found in all types of educational, gender, and occupational groups. The extreme of both extroversion and introversion may not be good and can even come in the way of a person's effectiveness. It is understood that the introversion and extroversional personality dimension can affect the performance in various environments. That is, introvert perform the job better in, when alone in a quiet environment, while the extrovert perform better in the environment having people with a high level of activities or he is a member of any team. The third one is tolerance for ambiguity. Tolerance for ambiguity in organizational behavior refers to an individual or group capacity to function effectively in uncertain, unpredictable, and ambiguous situations within an organization context. It involves being comfortable with ambiguity and able to navigate through situations where there is no clear cut answer or the solution. Here are the many key dimensions: openness to ideas, individual with high tolerance for ambiguity are generally more open to new ideas, perspectives, and the way of doing. They are less likely to be threatened by uncertainty and more willingly to explore alternative approaches. The next one is tolerating ambiguity, often correlates with adaptability. Such individuals or groups can adjust their behaviors, strategies, or plans in response to changing circumstances without becoming overly stressed or disoriented. The third dimension is decision making. Ambiguity tolerance influence decision making process also within the organization. What happened? The people with higher tolerance level are more comfortable making decisions even when all information is not available, or when the outcomes are uncertain. They are willingly to take calculated risks. Next is about creativity and innovation. Ambiguity tolerance fosters creativity and innovations within organizations. When individuals are not afraid of ambiguity, they are more likely to think outside the box, experiments with new ideas, and embrace innovative solutions to problems. Then it comes about conflict resolution. In situations where there is uncertainty, conflicts may arise due to different interpretations and perspectives. And in this case, the individuals with high uncertainty tolerance are better equipped to manage such conflicts constructively, seeking common ground and compromise rather than being entrenched in rigid positions. Next one is about leadership. Effective leadership often exhibits high tolerance for uncertainty. When they can navigate through complex and uncertain situations, inspires confidence in their team, and provide a clear direction even faced a great level of uncertainty. And the last one is about organizational culture. Level of uncertainty tolerance within an organization can significantly impact its culture. Organizations that encourages risk-taking, experimentation, and learning from failures tend to have a higher tolerance for uncertainty. It here we comes to the fourth and main heading, that is self-esteem. Self-esteem is an outcome of an individual's continuous evolution of himself or herself, which can be assessments reflecting his her responses to others' opinions, situational requirements, and successes and failures. Such assessments are usually stable and accurate enough to be considered as a personality trait. In terms of big five personality factors, self esteem is most likely to be part of adjustment factors. Some of the way in which self esteem can affect organizational behavior are: self esteem reflects an individual's choice of vocation, whereas individuals with high self esteem are likely to be attracted towards higher job status of job. They also select conventional jobs as compared to the individual with low esteem. Self-esteem affects individuals as to how they set goals and attach values in attaining them. Employees with high self-esteem sets high goals for themselves and place more value on actually attaining goals. And this would work on the other hand around in case of employees with low self-esteem. On the other point, employees with low self-esteem are more sensitive to adverse job conditions such as stress, conflicts, uncertainty, poor supervision, and poor working conditions, and so on when compared to employees with high self esteem. Simply stated that the self esteem is clearly indicative of the willingness of the employees to assert himself or herself towards the competition of tasks assigned and thus having positive links to achievements. The next one comes is dogmatism. High dogmatism refers to the tendency of individual to be very rigid, perceives the world as a threatening place, and prefers to treat legitimate authority as absolute, and there either expects or rejects other people on the basis of their agreement and disagreement with, with accepted authority or doctrine. Simply stated that high dogmatic, that is SD, person appears to be close-minded and prefers to tend or to depend on authoritative peoples and organizations for the guidance and direction, and hence can more easily be influenced by such persons. As against with this, people with low dogmatic, that is LD, tendency are more open minded and cannot be easily influenced by authoritative figures in the organization like HD persons. With regards to the degree of dogmatism, its relationship between interpersonal and group behaviors, it is noted that HDs typically are in need of more group structure as compared to LDs. So the performance of HDs will also be dependent on how the group performs. But a high degree of dogmatism can at times lead to poor managerial performances because they may be involved only in a limited search of information, especially in decision making situations. Next is about authoritarianism. Authoritarianism, though closely related to dogmatism, is narrower in scope. It basically refers to a person who displays qualities such as adherence to conventional values and obeys organized authorities and have negative view of society, respect powers and toughness, and opposes expressions of personal feelings. In an organizational setup, such persons may prefer superiors who may have highly directive and structured leadership style. Both dogmatism and authoritarianism can be related to the intellectual openness factor of Big Five factor model. The next one is risk taking. People differ in their willingness to change, to take changes or chances. Their propensity to assume and avoid risk has been shown to have an impact on how long it takes managers to make decisions and how much information they acquire before making their choice. While it is generally correct to conclude that managers in organization are risk aversive and they are still individual differences. As such results, it makes sense to recognize those differences and even to consider aligning risk taking propensity with specific job demands. For instance, high risk taking propensity may lead to more effective performances for our stock traders in a brokerage firm. This type of risk demands rapid decision making. On the other hand, this personality characteristics might prove a major obstacle to accountants performing auditing their activities. This type of job might be better filled with someone with low risk taking propensity. The next one is mechanism. And this term is derived from Niccolo Machiavelli's writing, who wrote on how to gain and use powers, that is, on an individual's ability to manipulate people. Thus, such mechs are easily can game for participating in organizational politics. Those who are high mechs believe and justify means they try to manipulating more, winning more, persuade others more, and are themselves less persuaded. Yet, there are situational factors which affect high max and are able to flourish in indirect situations. The situations involving minimum rules and regulations and emotional involvements with details are irrelevant to winning and act as a cause of distraction for low max. For example, where job involves good bargaining skills and all were rewarded are awarded for good performance and winning. Our ninth point is goal oriented or goal orientation. Another visible difference in individual behavior and work environment is related to goal oriented and the preferences from one type of goal against another. While trying to understand some aspects of individual jobs performance, we will have to consider two types of goal orientation, that is, learning goal orientation and performance goal orientation. In learning goal orientation, a predisposition to develop competence by acquiring new skills and mastering new situations. Performance goal orientation is refers to as a predisposition to demonstrate and validate competence by trying to obtain favorable judgments from others and refrain from negative judgments. But when applying this goal orientation to work setting, a dramatic response patterns and behaviors emerge. An individual with strong goal orientation may refrain from accepting work challenges and their performance suffers when they are unable to overcome obstacles and when faced with failure become heavy, unhappy and likely to withdraw from such situations. Individual with a strong learning goal orientation tries to overcome failures and setbacks by putting in more efforts and looking out for a new solution of the problem. Although an individual's goal orientation may vary from situation to situation, as we can say, evidence suggests that a significant amount of goal orientation can be indicative of an individual's personality. And our last is type A and type B personality. One dimension of personality that is getting attention both from organizational as well as medical researchers is the type A and type B profiles. A person exhibits type A behavior is generally restless, impatient with a desire for quick achievement and perfectionism, whereas Type B is much more easygoing, relaxed about the time pressure, less competitive, and more physiological in nature. Type A behavioral profile tends to be offensive, and managers with such behaviors are very hard driving, detail oriented people and with high performance standards. Type B persons, on the other hand, do put in extra efforts in order to meet the deadlines but not feel pressurized. Type A personality also includes a person who always is in a hurry or is extremely competitive and often hostile and irritable. Often on the opposite side, B personality who is very relaxed, incompetent, and easygoing.